Hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of our podcast episode. Oh my goodness. My guest here today is a friend. He's been a great help to me in understanding private equity investment, venture funds. He wears a whole lot of hats, and to be quite honest, I can't do justice to the introduction, so I'm gonna have him introduce himself. But I have with me Wale Salami.
Hi, Dr. Yano. It's a pleasure. Thank you for the invitation. I look forward to this conversation.
Yeah, really exciting. I think this is going to be a really exciting conversation, and of course, you and I know we're gonna have. I'm just telling you right now, we're gonna have you back, right? Because basically, we don't have enough time to cover some of the things that we really needed to dive into in this conversation. But I just wanted you to take a few minutes and introduce yourself to our guest.
Alrighty. Yeah, the name is Wale Salami. I was born and raised in Lagos, Nigeria. So originally from West Africa. My first degree is in mechanical engineering. I studied in Lagos State University, known as LASU today. Um, Yeah, I wear so many hats today. During the day, yeah, I'm a cloud computing professional. I deal with the AWS cloud. I work with a Fortune 500 company where we help enterprises scale in the cloud using the AWS solutions. Yeah, I've been doing that now for about 5 years. I mean, in the tech sales role. Prior to that, I served in the U.S. Army. I usually joke when I tell my friend that that's the best career decision I ever made because I relocated to the States June of 2014, and I couldn't wait to sign up because I had a stopover at O'Hare Airport in Chicago, and we're about to board the next flight to Tulsa, and something strange happened. They told everyone to hold on, even the first class passengers. There's a special set of people that need to go in first. I'm like, oh, hey, you mean apart from the billionaires, there are some other guys who I thought they were referring to the ultra high net worth individuals, but there comes these soldiers in uniform marching in. I'm like, wow. I mean, from where I was coming from in Africa, if you say you had any military affiliations, you were spartered. Like people do not respect them. So it was a cultural shock for me, and it was at that moment, my first day in America, that I fell in love with the U.S. military, and so it was no brainer when 3 months later I signed up. I signed up and I joined the U.S. Army out of Tulsa, Oklahoma. I signed up March 30th, 2015. It was amazing. I had my basic training in Fort. No, I had my basic training in Fort Jackson, North Carolina, and then I had my AIT, what we call the AIT, or job training at Fort Lee, Virginia. After all of those trainings, I was stationed at the one of the largest military bases in the world, called Fort Hood. I don't know what they call it now because there's been some political change of
Some
names and all of
changes.
those dramas surrounding the forts. So I was in Fort Worth, stationed in Fort Worth for about 3 years. In 2018, in the fall of 2018, I transitioned out of the military and I went back to school for my master's, for my MBA. And it was during my master's I stumbled on venture capital. I actually interned at a VC firm out of Dallas, Texas. And while doing that, he opened my eyes to so many things in that industry. It was at that point I realized that only 3% of GPs, those general partners, the guys who decide who gets what, only 3% of them are people of color or underrepresented people. And so it was no brainer later on when I found out that only 1.7% of the global capital goes to Black or underrepresented founders. Typically, people would cry about that. They want to do rallies. They want to do also. From where I come from, when you have an issue, you don't cry.
You
You
fix
don't
it.
do rallies. You find ways to solve it, right? You fix it, right? So my natural response was, if we are not invited to a party, we don't need to cry. Let's organize our home party and invite our own people, right? It's as simple as ABC. So that's the story behind the founding of Midlothian Angel Network. We want to be the first point of call for underrepresented founders in America and everywhere else who are building something amazing to, walk up to us and pitch to us. And the idea is amazing. I mean, we'll definitely fund it. Yeah, I think, yeah. So Yeah, I think I've already got it to the point where I'm also an angel investor and the venture capitalist. But when I'm tired of all of those tech sales or tech investment, I live on a very small farm out of like 45 minutes from the DFW airport. And so when I'm tired of tech, I go around chase my goats around. We have some goats, sheep, dogs, and all of that. I mean, just to be at peace with nature. Yeah, I'm a father of two girls, two beautiful girls. I'm also married to just one woman, to a woman actually. Yeah, because in these days, it can go different directions. I think that is about it about me. I
That is
believe
it.
that my purpose in life is to help enough other people find their voice and find their ways. And I do that in several ways through different organizations.
That is incredible. So how did you shift from mechanical engineering to one tech sales? How did you shift from mechanical engineering to investing? Like, what was that moment where you were like, okay, mechanical engineering isn't the direction for me any longer. And it seemed like this is a new shift. This is where I'm going to.
Yeah, how did I make that shift? Honestly, I think it happened by accident. But one thing that I knew was constant was the yearnings to do more, yearnings to be more. I remember there was a time I was deployed. I was on deployment. I think that was around 2016, summer of 2016 till um 2017, at least 2017. I was stuck on some islands, some did I say island? No, some deserts in the Middle East. One of the interesting thing about military deployment is you get like they keep paying your salaries. Once you leave the shores of America, the US government, Uncle Sam literally takes care of you from the crown of your head to the toe, feet of your soul. Like they take everything. Like we don't spend money on anything. So there was a good problem with that. It means money was coming in. There was nothing to spend it on. So I began to look at, okay, what can I do with this? Out of that camp, I built two businesses. One was like an Esusu. I called the fellow soldiers. I'm like, let's put our money together and start, let's do savings and all of that. The other thing that came to me was we need to invest, right? So I called up a VC firm in the US, and the first thing they asked me is, "How much are you earning?" I told them, I'm a military, I'm a soldier, I'm an active duty soldier. I thought that would buy me some compassion the way, but the guy told me, like, he told me quite frankly that they don't need people like me. That I needed to be earning more than $200,000 to be considered an accredited investor, right? So that, and he told me the minimum I needed to contribute to that fund was $25,000. I was earning about
Wow.
30,000 at that point. So,
Wow.
you know, I've never felt small in my life. That day was one of those low days. I'm just like, oh my goodness! Like I thought I was doing good, carrying weapons up and down the deserts of Middle East and defending the flag and all that.
Mm-hmm.
But it gave me a root shock, and at that point, I realized that okay, I need to step. I want to be one of these people who make
Mm-hmm.
important decisions, who scale. Because here's the gist: 70% of millionaires in America, 70, make their money. They became millionaires through real estate. 70%.
Mm-hmm.
However, um, 90% of billionaires with a B, 90% of those only are able to cross that threshold through venture capital. Right. So I knew venture capital was it. At that point, I was already, I already had real estate. I had landed properties in Africa. I had a house that I just bought in Kilintas. So I had conquered the real estate hangover. But it was a venture capital piece that was that was really lacking.
That was really tough.
So I knew, yeah. I mean, look at it today. Elon Musk is the richest man in the world. He's projected to be the first man ever in the history of humanity to have the net worth of $1 trillion. Like, it's not about whether it will happen or not; it's when, right? Because he's on the right track. But
Yep.
do you know the missing piece to that? What makes that possible is venture capital. He is leading three of the finest tech startups in the world. We talk about the Tesla, which everybody knows. We have not talked about XAI, right? XAI, and then he also has the telecommunications stuff, Starlinks,
It's like
right?
Starlinks. Yep.
Yeah, SpaceX vis-a-vis Starlinks.
Starlinks.
And there's another construction, like underground construction. Like, it's
Boring
amazing.
company.
Boring company, right? So it just shows that for me, see, venture capital is what makes America number one, right? I have been in different forests, different rooms where people are talking about how the invisibility, of America, how America is crumbling down, how China is going to take over. I think they're all jokers. You know why? Because no one can take over from this. America is the most beautiful experiment on earth. Why? Because there are some pieces that no other nation understands. That is what is wrapped around American exceptionalism, right? China would never take over from America. Why? Because number one, they don't even understand what freedom is in China. They don't understand the social, like the beauty of the American experiment. What makes American unique, what makes Americans great, is not the size of the military. Even though we have the biggest, largest military in the world, we've never lost a war. Right? It's not the size of our roads, even though we have 8-lane, 10-lane roads. What makes America great is the people, the value for life. You can't have that in China. The average Chinese don't like their government, right? They are only staying there because they are stuck, literally. America is the only place where I can go on a podcast and lambast the president. And guess what? Maybe I'll get one few knocks, or I won't even get a knock on my door. I'll probably get the message and be like, you need to tone it down, right? Try that in China. You will just disappear. They will not find you, right? So for me, those are what makes this country unique, right? This is the only country where you can come from nowhere. You don't need to be born here for you to become the richest man in the world.
Mm-hmm.
For
Mm-hmm.
instance, Elon Musk was born in South Africa. He's
Mm-hmm.
African, right? Yet he has a seat in the White House. Currently, Elon Musk and the president doesn't see eye to eye, but he was still in the White House this week, shaking hands with the Prince of Saudi. You know why? Because in this country, when you have proven yourself, merit will speak for you.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, it is a no-brainer. Nobody's taking over. I mean, maybe not in our lifetime, because what makes this country great is beyond any man's machination. Like the
Mm-hmm.
founders did an amazing job that no other country has been able to reproduce.
I'm 100% with you there. And, shifting gears a bit, you made your first investment. So you went through the season where nobody wanted to do business with you because they said you didn't have the right income. And to now you are investing in other people. What did that first investment look like? And then I'm going to ask you what your first AI investment looked like.
Okay, I mean, now we are now like all in on the AI game, right?
Yeah.
Because if you can't beat them, you join them,
Mm-hmm.
right? But my first investment, so I will speak to two things. First, my first investment as Wale Salami, before
Mm-hmm.
that, this would predate Middleton Angel Network, right? I
Mm-hmm.
think my first check, honestly, I can't even remember what that was, because that was like a long time ago. I think that was like over 10 years ago. Maybe
Oh,
no.
wow.
Because I think I did my first angel investment in 2017 or 2018, a year before I exited the military. So after I was turned down by that VC firm, I began to look, so one thing I do, which I rate myself for, is you can't say no to me. Like if you say no, what I take is, okay, not this time, try again. So I left that guy alone. I went elsewhere. I look, okay, are there Black people in this industry? Then I found that there's a guy who has an angel network. He's a US citizen. He lives in Houston, but he has left America. He was in Morocco. He's the same guy who invested in Andela and Flutterwave. This guy is the only African who has 2 unicorns, right?
Mm.
I found him on Facebook. He's a very funny guy on Facebook. I added him. Every time he posts, I start liking it. I start commenting. He didn't know what I wanted. As God will have it. Eventually, he saw that, oh, who is this guy? He saw me in military uniform. I heard he was going somewhere in Houston, and I showed up there. I was still in the military, and we met up. I told him I wanted to meet him. He asked me to come to a restaurant. We met up. We parlayed up. I told him, I'm interested in your angel network. I want to invest. He looked
Mm.
at me. I'm sure in his mind, he has that question that guy asked me, that, does this guy have
Mm.
money for this kind of thing, right? But because maybe because we both were born in Africa, right? He
Mm-hmm.
understood
Mm-hmm.
he understood my background, right? And the
Yep.
reality is, when it comes to the check size, when it comes to angel network and venture capital, is way different, right? So anyway, that's how I joined it. The name of that guy is Idris Ayo Bello. Fantastic guy. He's my first mentor when it comes to this industry.
Mm.
I ended up investing my first check with him. And I did a series, I think about 15 or 10, before starting
Wow.
Midlothian Angel. I started Midlothian Angel because I realized that his network is based in Africa. Sending money to them was headache, right? You have to, We can't use normal wire transfer. You have to do paper. To me, it looks like a secret thing. I'm like, no, the investment shouldn't be this hard. So I thought about, okay, let's create one in America where folks in America can invest.
Actually
And
put.
but this is an interesting thing I did before. Okay, so I shifted the idea for like 2 years. I didn't do it until during COVID. I was bored. I started listening to a podcast, How I Built This by Guy Raz, and he interviewed the CEO of Calendly, who happens to be Nigerian American. And the guy was narrating how hard it was for him to raise his first fund because it felt like people didn't fund him because he was black, right? I don't think that is why he wasn't funded. I mean, I'm being like, because honestly, racism exists, right? But I don't think it is the kind of racism that we think it is. The real racism is between the poor and the rich. It's not between colors. It's green. The green racism color is green, right? Because this is what I found out. When you got into a level where you are affluent, trust me, nobody can ignore you. Nobody. They don't like the color of your skin fades, right? Even though you are black, you turn green, and green is a universal color, right? Okay, so I was going back to So I listened to that guy and I cried during that podcast because I felt like God called me to do something and I dropped the ball. Right. So I felt okay. So I told myself this will not happen to another black founder. Why? Because we need to build something. So the next day I called up two friends of mine and we incorporated Midlothian Angel Network. Then I reached out to the guy I was investing in. I told him, this is what I want to do. Egbon in Nigeria is a brother, like my
Brother.
elder brother. I said, your angel network is based in Africa. It's difficult for me to wire money up and down. I want to start one in America, and I need your blessing. Because he's a fantastic guy, told me, Wale, go ahead. If you need any help, any stuff, give me a call. And every year we still have our informal check-ins. He will ask me, Wale, we are trying to do this thing. Come and help us here, right? We still work together. In fact, for our first physical event as a network, I brought him in as a chief guest speaker, in Dallas, and he honored the invitation. So our first deal at Midlo was in a company called Career Masterclass, based out of the UK. Yeah, they're doing well. They're doing amazing well. Since then, we've done several other deals. Like we've written several checks. It's been an interesting company. And you talk about our first AI deal. Our first AI deal is in OpenAI itself, right? Last year, we got an opportunity to invest $2 million
Wow. Wow.
in a
Wow.
nuclear, but we
Wow.
need to close within 24 hours. That's why sometimes you need to prepare for your opportunities, right? Because some people are going around chasing opportunities. All you need to do is sit down somewhere and prepare, so that when the opportunity comes, you'll be able to grab it and squeeze it, squeeze the juice out of it. Ever since then, we've added more AI companies to our portfolio. We recently closed on Databricks, which is another amazing AI driven. I hope I've answered the question.
Yeah, absolutely. So wow. So your first one was in UK, and then your first AI company was OpenAI. This is very, very interesting. It looks like you call it accident, but it looks like a lot of things happen where preparation meets opportunity for you, at least, right?
Definitely.
It looks like when you came into the US, there was that mental preparation. I think something had happened in Nigeria that gave you that mindset, because no one just comes into a country, sees something, or no one watches a podcast and just sheds tears, without really nailing down a certain piece that is here. And so what was that for you? Was it experience in Nigeria that really shaped that way of thinking? Because some people come and it's like, man, America is a really nice place, so let's go and, let's go. The parties attract them more than the opportunities attract them. What really changed that mindset for you, where you came and you're able to support that? And then we'll dive into some of your investment philosophies.
Thank you very much. That's a very, very interesting question. Yes, nothing happens by accident. Like I said, you need to be prepared for your opportunities. And truly, I've had as in like a boot camp. I'm coming from coming from Nigeria. The reality is, the average Nigerian is a silver bullet going somewhere to cause riot, right? Because the system itself makes you an hustler. Right. I remember getting admission into a college of engineering, but I found out that I was reading more business books, more self-development books than engineering books. So in my second year, I got a mentor on campus. This was one of the most, I mean, back then we saw him as one of the most unserious guy because he wasn't really, he was one of those guys that you know that this guy would never practice as an engineer. But this guy was deep. So I approached him, we call him Ife. I approached him, I said, I would like you to be my mentor. And he looked at me and was like, okay, are you sure you're ready? Right? This guy would take me and another of my colleague on like around 11, 12 p.m. 11 p.m. take us on a walk on campus, sharing different things, right? It really opened my eyes to the world out there. It helped me set goals, cast a vision. Around the same time, I got selected for the youth leadership program by Leap Africa in 2006. That was a watershed moment in my life because going into that program opened my eyes. Like it was like my paradigm shift. I mean, it shifted forever. During that program, it was a 1-year program funded by Nokia Foundation, but we had a 2 weeks training. First training happened, I think, around March. The last one happened in November, right? They taught us like how to, how to write a personal mission statement. I've never written one. I didn't even know there was. I just know that some organization have something they put on their in their halls, right? But I thought it was only for organizations. I did. It was at that training I realized that for you to live a great life, you need a mission behind it, right? And that mission is not something you just put in your head. You need to like conceptualize it and write it down on paper. Write it down on paper. Habakkuk 2:3. He said, write the vision and make it plain on the table. Make it plain upon the table so that he who reads it will run. The goal is you write it plain. Plain means easily conceivable by any idiot. Like any idiot can pick it up and be like, okay, it says we should jump from A to B and they will execute, right? That's what that means, right? Right on campus, I had a mission statement. I have a vision statement. I knew where I wanted to be in the next 10 years, 20 years. In fact, I begin to set goals every year. At the last, if you notice, last week of the year, now it's becoming 2 weeks of the year. I'm always out of circulation. You won't see me. Right. I have several places I retreat to set goals for the next year. While on campus, I set a 10-year goal. That 10-year goal is actually, did I say 10? It was a 20 years goal. That 20 years goal is actually ending December 31st, 2025. So to to celebrate, I've set another 20 years goal. So I have a goal now going from 2026 to 2045, right? If I share it with you, because when I look back at my 20 years goal, I realized that most of the things that we said happen now, I told you is a lie. They were all written there. Of course, if they weren't as detailed as I want to go to America and join the US Army, no. And this is one thing I've learned about goal setting, which I share with my staff frequently. Whenever you set a goal, the real goal, the proof that you have achieved that goal is not in the attainment of the goal, is in the person you have become. Let me explain. Let me break it down. For instance, let's say in January, I am just a young architect. And I gave myself a goal of building a 5-story building. So January through February and all of that, I started writing proposal. They sent it to the government office. The city approved it. Oh, you can now build. I built, and I realized that the foundation I did. The kind of foundation you do for a 20-story building is different from the one you do for a 2-story building, right? It has to. The higher it goes up in the sky, the deeper your foundation has to go, right? I didn't know all of that because I'm naive, right? And I found that I realized, okay, I couldn't build five stories. Now I was settled to build 2. So in layman language, you have failed really because you haven't achieved the goal to specifications, right? But the reality is the person who started that year in January to build a 5-story building and the one who built a 2-story building in December are not the same people. They are not the same people. Something has shifted. Something has changed. There's increase in your knowledge capacity. Now you understand what it means to build a 20-story building, even though you couldn't achieve 5, right? My pastor used to say, Reverend Sam, he says, anytime you go to a building, you realize that as the builder is building the building is building the builder, right? So that is what happens when you set a goal. There's a building on the inside of you. The problem with our world is we only focus on the outward, on the public success. We don't focus on the internal, the private, the private building, right? And it is the private building that kind of lead to the public one, right? That's why, in life, I believe that everything you see in life are created twice. First, in the mental, or if you are spiritual, they call it in the spiritual realm, right? It is first in the spiritual realm, then it's then develops into the physical realm. I'm sitting on a chair today. Somebody just thought, oh, let's do something that people can sit on, right? Before it can become a physical story, you have to draw it out. That is this That's a spiritual creation. So when you set a goal, what you're doing is you are doing a spiritual exercise. You are downloading source from the higher realm, from the higher power, and you're putting it on paper. And because it's on paper, it serves as a true north for you. It serves as a guide, and you cannot deviate. I mean, so this is the beauty. It doesn't mean that you won't make mistakes, right? Dr. Yanu, do you know that anytime a plane takes off from point A to point B and they tell you it's going to take 1 hour, do you know that 90% of the time, when a plane takes off, when you look at the trajectory of a plane, it's a straight line, right? On the, like, if you ask pilot, it's a straight line. What most of us do not know is that 90% of the time, the pilot always vary off that straight line. It's never a straight line. It always vary off. But guess what? Despite all those variations, all those deviations, the pilot still arrived at point B on time. You know why? Anytime it veers up, it just goes back to that straight line and keeps going. Go back. That is what goals do for you. That is why people who have goals are more successful in life. It's not because they have some juju they are doing. It's because they have a compass. If you have a compass that's showing you the true north, you will keep on edging on. It doesn't mean whether there will be, you jump over different streams and all of that. Challenges will come. They are part of life. But because you have a goal, you have a template, you keep on going. So you're very, very right. Those are the things I have done before I came to America. So when I came to America, it was execution time. It was just like, hit
Wow.
the road, keep running.
Get it running. Wow. So now 2 questions, because I know we're going to have a part 2 of this. So this is just the beginning of this. 2 questions that I want you to take in one. One is, what is your investment ethos for AI companies? So what that means is, if someone were going to bring an AI company to you, what are some of the things that you look at? And this is one of the reasons why I had you on our podcast, because I know that we work with a community of people that are consistently building, and now the barrier to entry has been lowered, where you can actually grow your sales, grow your organization very quickly using some AI tools as well. And so, the investment landscape also is shifting and is changing from that perspective. So what are some of the things that you look at in the companies that you invest in from an ethos standpoint? And how would you advise an AI company listening to position themselves for success in this, what some people will call bubble or hype?
Yeah, I would like to take this second question first. When people say it's a bubble, it's a balloon, I don't care whatever they call it. It's the same thing they said about the internet age, right? When a few weeks ago, I stumbled on a video on an interview done about 25 years ago when Bill Gates was being interviewed. And I love watching those kind of old clips because it brings it, because some of us are still at those times, right? I mean, I'm not at the level of Bill Gates yet, right? So, so I love those kind of old videos. So, and somebody was asking him, you mean there will come a day when everybody would have laptops in their houses instead of TV? And Gates was like, yeah. The guy looked at him like, you must be out of your mind. Guess what? In this office alone, I have 4 laptops, just one. And that is just in my office. I'm married to an attorney who, like, our kids have like devices, right? I mean, but looking back 30 years ago, it felt like it was insane saying those things, right? The one that really eats me most, and I know you roll on the floor with this one. You ask him that, and they say you guys are going to be doing something where you can log online and you can watch live matches. Big Jet was like, yeah. He was like, have you heard of radio? Like, radio is doing that already, right? Gates was like, yeah, radio is doing it, but the difference is that this time around is going to be on demand. You can go back there any time. On radio, you can't. It's on demand. The man still couldn't get it. He was laughing. Another old interview series that I watched was with Jeff Bezos of Amazon. He was on this TV show where somebody asked him, you mean for the last 15 years, you've been making money and collecting money from investors, and you are not profitable yet? Jeff Bezos was like, yeah, I'm not profitable yet. And I was like, and people still believe in you and they are giving you money? Like, it sounded stupid. It sounded crazy. The reality is, and I'll close that with this famous quote from Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett says that be greedy when others are fearful, and be fearful when others are greedy. Right now, I see some people say, oh, Peter Thiel has sold the stocks in the Nvidia. Hey, blah, 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 blah. The bulb is about to burst. There's fear in the market. Right? A lot of people are dumping shit there, dumping stuff. Bitcoin prices is tanking, blah, blah, blah. I have already set it. I'm looking for it to drop to a particular point, and I'll come in and buy the dip, right? Because the best time for you to buy is when everybody's abandoning it. That is the way the system has worked. And one thing I have learned about life is always in seasons. It's seasonal, right? In December, it's going to be winter. There's some activities that you do in the summer that you can never do in the winter, except you are dumb or stupid, right? So understand the season of life, understand the season in investment, right? Different things you should do at different times, right? So that's how I'll close that up. I don't think there's a bubble anywhere. Like they said about the internet boom, oh, there's going to blow us. Of course, what happened was a correction in the market, right? But the reality is, AI boom that we're experiencing today, the foundation was set by the internet boom. So yeah, things are overvalued and all of those. It's just demand and supply. It's the forces of the market that is happening, right? It's not the time to lose your head. Just wave away from the noise and focus on the fundamentals and make your investment. So that's what I would say. When it comes to making investment at mid-low, we use like three main factors. Number one, we don't invest in ideas. And I'll say that again. We don't invest in ideas, no matter how noble, how grand it is. We don't. You know why? Because ideas are 5 for $1. Any fool can have an idea, right? What makes what makes an idea what it's sought is the man behind it. Because before an idea can become a substance, it has to possess a human being. Huh? When God wanted to save the world, he couldn't come by himself. He has to put it inside a Jesus, right? And he came in and said, "I'm the light of the world." And he did crazy things, he healed the sick, opened the eyes of the blind, right? It's the same thing in the tech space. Like you need somebody who can. There's a set of people who, whatever they touch, whatever they do, they will be successful. It's like they are anointed. There's something on here. I usually jokingly tell my kids, I tell them, there is a problem with your name on it. There's a purpose for your life. Our goal as humans is to find it. Once you find it, you run with it. That was what I found with Midlo. I found it, keep running. So those are the kind of people we look out for. This is not, it's not a business for them. It's not a deck. There are some founders that, even in Silicon Valley, 5% of tech startups yearly, they are set up for the purpose of duping investors, even in Silicon Valley. So compare that to Africa, it's even crazier. So when we want to make investment, I use the Chinese model. If you want to get money from the Chinese, it's a long-term affair. They don't do all your share tricks. Like you can talk to them for 1 year. The moment they'll make the investment, you won't even know, right? They'll take you to dinner. They tell you to bring your family. You know what they are doing? They are looking at, okay, how does he treat his wife? Does he open the car door for her? Or he'll be like, if somebody is not treating his wife very well, because your partner is supposed to be the most important person to you. If you cannot treat, you don't think you will treat my money very well. No, right? Sometimes I invite, when I'm going to be in Lagos soon, I invite my founders. I go to their offices, sometimes without calling them, just show up, look at the stuff they are doing, bring them up to events. Like for me, that it is in those seasons that I make my decisions. It's not in how shiny the solutions are, right? Because if you give money because a great founder with a bad idea is better than a fantastic idea in the hand of a stupid founder. Because a stupid founder will remain stupid. He would run it down, right? Even like, and we've seen several examples of that. Look at what's the name of this guy? These guys that do co-space lending. Co-space rental, right? I can't remember their name now. The Airbnb for office spaces, right? What's their name?
I know.
Like
It starts with W. Forgetting the name.
yeah, the co-working space, right? This guy
Yeah.
literally destroyed a company he built by being greedy, by being stupid. He acquired office spaces in his name and rented it out to the company. Like, you must really be stupid. And so for me, when I want to do a deal and I'm hearing things like, oh, we need to sign NDAs, we need to do this, you are putting like 100 clauses, I take a step back and I'm like, because when people become legalists, when they become legal minded, it's because they have something to hide. More often than not, it's because they have something to hide. So there are deals we've done at Midlow before, and we've had exit without one single document signed. I'm being real with you. There's a deal we just closed now in Silicon Valley with a partner. The guy was chasing me around and said, Wale, you committed to this, I need the money. And I need you to sign this document. I asked him, do you want the money or you want the document? He said, the money is important. Because if he has the money, I sent him the money. Guess what? I'm yet to sign the document. I might not sign that document for the next 3 months. Right? Because if I don't trust you, I won't send the money to you. right? Of course, sending the document makes sense. You gotta be able to close the deal, right? But the reality is, and I learned this from Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett says that you cannot legislate good behavior. He said that it is better to not do a deal than to do a deal with a cruel with a mischievous or someone you cannot trust. Why? Because you can't wake somebody who is pretending to be asleep. There are some people who, once their value they don't align with yours, don't jump into bed with them. It's as simple as it is. That's my investment philosophy.
Mhm.
I don't invest in ideas. I invest in people. There are some people that even if the idea you're investing in their hands failed, they'll find something else. They'll make it what you want. And I have examples for this, and I'm not just making up philosophies. An example is Inya Boyeji, one of the finest founders Africa has ever seen. Most people don't know the story behind Andela, right? The angel group I told you I used to belong to invested in the company that precedes Andela. It was called Fura, right? It was supposed to be some online and some campus stuff and all of that. They invested in that company. Inye tried his best. The thing was not working. It wasn't scaling. So he was tired, and at some point he wrote the investor and told them, guys, I know I raised money from you guys. Out of let's say I raised 500K. We have 50K left. I gave them two options. Should I send the 150K check back to you? Or there's this other company that somebody just invited me to join. Or should I take that money into there and we'll give you the same equity that you had in this company? We transfer it. Of course, thank God that the guy who led that stuff said, oh, don't worry, we like you, because that guy knew that what he invested in wasn't the idea, it was a person, right? So he said, yeah, take the money over there and all of that. That money eventually became a unicorn that we know today as Andela, right? So that is our philosophy. We invest in people, right? We invest in people. We don't invest in ideas because ideas come like one. So I know that's one. Another thing is when we're doing investing, whether it's AI or anything, we prefer a multi-founder startup. We don't want a solo. It's too much risk, right? There's a key man risk when you invest in just one person is the alpha and omega. And when one person gives you that kind of stuff, right? Except your name is Elon Musk, right? Even Bill Gates, that co-founder. And I hope you all know that Elon Musk wasn't the founder of Tesla. No,
Mhm.
Tesla
Mhm.
had two co-founders. He came in late. He had the money, and that's how he's able to So the point I'm trying to make is it takes more than one person to build a great company. That is the
Mhm.
point I'm trying to make. So we always look out for that. The more technical you are, the better. But we even don't need to be technical. You just need to, number one, the third thing we look at is how much time have you spent trying to solve this problem? Right? What is your pedigree? What is your background? Your background is separate than the background of your management team, right? For instance, if you want to join Midlo, you need to ask, what have these people done? We tell you, oh, we've invested in OpenAI, we've done this, we've done that. Then look at our board of governors. You see professionals with over 50 years of experience cumulative. Dr. Yanni is on our investment committee.
Mhm. Mhm.
I was still telling him yesterday, if I want to do any AI investment, I am not going to take the meeting. I'll just tell him to go and talk to him. Why? Because
Mhm.
why should I be in a room with him and they're talking about AI and I want to be the one talking? No,
Mhm.
it's a waste of my time. The third metrics we use is it pre-revenue or pre-launched?
Mhm.
Different people who invest in different things, right? We don't
Mhm.
invest in pre-revenue or not that we haven't before. We have done it before when we had our fingers burnt. So one of the things I learned from joining the military, the US Army, is the fact that when you join an organization that is older than the United States, you will know that they have organizational knowledge that dates back centuries, right? There are some things that you would not see the military do. It's because they have learned from mistakes, right? So we do not do that because we have done it before. It was the worst deal we ever did, right? Because if you give somebody money without proving their concept, without proving their ideas, the only company we did that to, the founders were too relaxed. They didn't even know how to. They couldn't get together with their go-to-market strategy. Even though the idea was brilliant, it was amazing, but they could not hack it. They could not, even with everything we told them to do, like do this, do that, Whereas if we had allowed them to figure that out, then we funded them, it wouldn't have been the same thing. So that's what.
Wow. 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 I know we have to take a break and do a part two of this. I would just like you to share one, how can people connect with you and get in touch with you? I know you're on LinkedIn. I know you're very active on Instagram as well. And then any last minute word for anyone who is listening, who wants to be an angel investor or build an angel investment company. And two, anyone who is also interested in finding a group to invest in his company because they have all of these different factors. So one, can people reach you? And then 2, what's your last word for individuals who belong in these 2 categories?
Yeah. If you want to reach me, the easiest way to get my attention, join Middle Angels. Right? No, for real. Because number one is I'm just one human being. I have just 24 hours, so I don't have the energy to connect with
Time.
everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Right? What we have built Middle in a way that today, if you sign up, fill a form, make payment for your membership, you get a 30-minute slot with me on filtered access. Like you'll be able to ask
Mm-hmm.
me any question you want to ask, right? And you get added to our community. Once you're in that community, you would have my contact, you have my number, you can chat me up, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's one. And then you can catch us on LinkedIn.
LinkedIn.
Wale Salami on LinkedIn, or Midlothian Angel Network on LinkedIn, and on IG it's Midlo Angels, right? For founders, that is the easiest one because we get emails every day, right? You can. It doesn't matter whether it's cold or warm. You can email us at info@midloangels.org, right? Or drop a message on LinkedIn. But the one I prefer most is the soft intros, right? You know why? If Dr. Yano comes to me and tell me, Wale, I've looked at this guy. I love what they're doing. I think you should invest in it. You know why I like those ones, right? Because anytime you introduce someone to someone else, what you are doing, what you are using is you are using your reputational capital. You are spending it.
Yep.
So if that person messes up, you know you can't
that-
introduce someone else to it. So I am very, very careful. Except I'm very, very sure of you. Don't do introductions,
Mm-hmm.
right? So we love that. In fact, if you want to make it better, tell me I've invested in there. I say, okay, so your money is there. Let's go. Let's look at it. Right.
So guys, please connect with Wale Salami on Instagram. Follow him. He shares some amazing content. He's super amazing. Like every time I talk to Wale, there's always something you learn from it. And I'm 100% sure the people that have been on the line have really got something from this conversation. Of course, this is not the end of the conversation. This is just the beginning. So I'm looking forward to having you back. Thanks again, Wale, for joining us today. We appreciate you being here.
Thank you, sir.